Welcome to another episode of Chef Knives to Go. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at this time is the Masakage Yuki Ko-Bunka 135mm knife. So this is their small bunka. The construction here is 3 layers, so there's a softer stainless steel cladding on either side of that harder core steel. The core steel is Shitogami or white paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. Heat treats around 62 to 63 Rockwell. This will take a great edge and has pretty decent edge retention on it as well. It's easy to sharpen, stainless clad, so it's low maintenance. You only have to worry about the reactivity of the core steel showing at the edge here. The cladding does come over the top and cover the spine. The weights and dimensions will vary just a little bit from knife to knife. This particular one is 72 grams or 2.6 ounces, very light and nimble. The the edge length is about 134 millimeters or 5.3 inches. The overall length about 10.4 inches. Blade height at the rear is about 34 millimeters. Again, that can vary just a little bit between knife to knife. The spine thickness coming out of the handle is about 2.5 millimeter above the chin here, the back of the blade. And then it thins down to about 2 millimeters, about halfway down, and then kind of keeps that as we hit the corner at the reverse sword tip, and then with the grind, it thins out and gets nice and skinny at the very tip. So it's a high-performing knife with a high-performance tip on it. You can see a pretty generous grind on it. Handle is their kind of signature oval, white and red combo with magnolia or hoe wood and a red pack of wood, stabilized wood ferrule with tight install, nice fit and finish, smooth all the way around. The circumference on this, where the ferrule meets the wood, is about 2.5 inches or 63 millimeters, so fairly small, which is, fits the knife appropriately. You've got a generous neck into a curve, into their signature curve, and kind of back sweep on the heel there, the chin, the very back of the heel, the choil. So there's lots of room for a pinch grip there for, depending on what grip you want to do with this blade. Balance point is going to be just about in front of that choil, pretty close, just barely in front of that choil. Fit and finish is really good on these, as you would expect. Here is what it looks like. Get our beauty shot here. So you've got a Nishiji or pear skin mottled finish on the sides of the blade. You've got a frosted blade road. You can see the core steel, and then you can see the edge bevel, the sharpened edge bevel there reflecting light. These are typical of Masakage, a good 7 out of 10 or maybe even more on the edge. Very sharp right out of the box. Hand chiseled kanji, extremely well done. You can feel it when you run your fingers across it. It also kind of moves around in the light. It's a cool effect. You can impress your friends at parties. If you got this style of blade, it's really cool. It looks way more cool in person than even showing here, but I think you can see that. They've got nice fit and finish on the spine, on the choil. It's polished and relieved, so it's very comfortable out of the box. Let's look at the right side of the blade. Again, you can see your core steel at the edge coming through. You can see the pear skin finish, so it's a very smooth Nishiji finish on this. Let's see what else. Let's look at the cutting board. What's nice about these is just basically the geometry and the shape of this blade. You've got excellent board clearance, so it's a little hard for me to show you with the angle I'm sitting at here, but you can see that you've got plenty of board clearance for cutting board work. So these make some really interesting small utility knives. Here's your profile on the cutting board. Tip's pretty low, as you might expect for a bunka, but so I can get right in there. So I'm not going to rock over anything high, but hey, it's a small blade, so kind of par for the course. So there's your profile, nice and smooth. Flows in a little bit of a stop at the heel, but not much. I want to bring in the similar knife to this. This is the Yuki, of course. Here is the Masakage Kiri. This is a very similar knife. The main difference is, of course, besides the steel, is the grind. So I talked about this in the Kiri video. We'll talk about it here. So this has kind of a hard shoulder on the grind. when it comes down towards the edge. And they do get very thin at the edge, so performance is really good on these. But that hard shoulder behaves a little differently than the way the kiri is ground. So hard shoulder here, kind of more of a V-shaped, and you'll get great product separation and less food, more food release or better food release. Although you might get just a little bit of wedging in some harder products, or maybe not quite as predictable cut sometimes, depending on what you're doing and what kind of product you're in. The kiri has more of a gradual convex grind down towards the edge, and it's not like a hard shoulder like that. So this will typically give you a little bit more organic feel, maybe a little more predictable cut and harder stuff, a little bit less wedging, but you won't get as good product separation, and typically it may not have as good food release properties. So one's not necessarily better than the other, they're just different. So I just thought I'd point that out to you. So if you're looking for a really cool small bunka that's interesting, carbon steel, fairly low maintenance with the stainless cladding, this is a pretty cool knife. So this is the Masakage Yuki Ko-Bunka 135mm knife.